Excuse me. Excuse me again. Hey everybody, my name's Ed. Okay, so today we're going to do another random comics walkthrough. This was going to be Cerebus High Society Part 1, which is really a reprint Cerebus number 26. So the physical thing I have here was published in 1990, I believe, and but in the original copy of Cerebus 26 was from 1980. So for people who don't know, uh, Dave Sims and Cerebus was pretty much he was an indie publisher, self publisher, and him along with Wendy and Richard Pini, who used to do a comic called ElfQuest, and let's see here, another guy, and I think it's Jack Kantz. I might have that wrong. I know the comic he did was called First Kingdom. I haven't read any of those yet, but they were kind of pioneers as far as doing black and white self-published indie comics that really made headroads into the direct sales market in the late 80s. I'm sorry, I'll say the late 70s and early 80s. They actually really broke a lot of new ground there as far as, like you said, doing independent work, self-owned work, and publishing it in that market. You know, setting up that whole sort of, I guess, distribution model, if you will. Okay, so just to jump into the comic here, first inside page, we have note from the publisher. It says right here, this original note is from Denny Lubert. She was married to Dave Sims for a few years. And here, this is kind of interesting. Dave includes some work from the sketchbooks. And I guess what happened is he was contacted by somebody from Marvel Comics who asked him if he'd be interested in doing Howard the Duck for them. So he did a few sketches to see if like Howard would kind of work with his kind of art style and storytelling approach and whatnot. And this here on this page we have a sketch of I believe this is his Roach character. The Roach was basically his character he would use to parody various superheroes. You know, Captain America, Spider-Man, Wolverine, Moon Knight, and you know, different stuff like that. I actually believe Dave got in a little bit of trouble because he did a parody of Wolverine, and he did 3 covers in a row with this Wolverine character, and Marvel's lawyers kind of came at him. So in the reprints, there's a big blurb on the cover that says, hey, this is a parody character. This is not meant to infringe on the copyrighted character by Marvel Comics, blah, blah, so on and so forth. All right, okay, so getting to the story, we find Cerebus. He's been out on the road, this, that, and the other thing. He's going to this hotel. He's got his sack of loot. And at first, they don't want to give him a room, but then they realize who he is. They're like, oh, you're that Cerebus. And they, they're really nice to him. They comp him a room and everything. He's a little bit suspicious, but hey, he's getting a free room, so he goes along with it. And they say, hey, go downstairs, we're going to have a dinner for you. Dinner's on the house. A few people might want to meet you. And immediately, this kind of smiley face businessman slides up to him and say, hey, Cerebus, glad to meet you. Hey, we want to put you on retainer. We'll give you this check for blah, blah, such and such. He's like, well, what's all this money for? Oh, nothing at all. Just that this guy named Lord Julius. And, next time you see him, we appreciate it if you kind of mention our company's name to him. Then we have another business guy who's very gracious, pretty much says the same thing. Hey, Cerebus, we really like you, this, that, and the other thing. Hey, can you get us an audience with Lord Julius? And basically, excuse me, what's going on is they find out that Cerebus, word has got out that Cerebus knows this person named Lord Julius. Now, in the world that you and I live in, Lord Julius is a character you met in some of the earlier issues. He is kind of this parody of Groucho Marx, but in the make-believe world, he's kind of a mover and shaker, an aristocrat, and things like that. So, like I said, everybody finds out that Cerebus knows Lord Julius, and they all want to get an audience with Lord Julius. All right. Cerebus is kind of put off by all this. He knows they all kind of want something from him, and he figures he's just going to leave. He tries to take a cab here, and then here's a kind of snooty rich guy, take that, don't take my cab, you street urchin, you. And Cerebus is a little bit pissed, and the guy, doesn't give a shit. He's knocking him in the head with his cane. Cerebus has had enough. They're about to throw down. The rich guy is more than willing to trade blows with him up until the moment where, of course, he realizes Cerebus. Oh, well, of course, Mr. Cerebus, please forgive me. Lord Julius. Hey, why don't you mention my company to Lord Julius? We'll have a meeting, so on and so forth. Cerebus isn't having it. He's like, oh, come on, please, please, please. And again, Cerebus has had enough. He asked the taxi driver to take him somewhere to buy a pound of flour. Okay? And what he does is he goes to this seedy bar on the kind of wrong side of town, all right? Takes his flour out, says, hey, scumbag, over here. Nobody in particular, just a crowd of dudes who are there. And, of course, they're all pissed. And Cerebus is ready to blow off some steam. He really wants to, trade some blows with somebody just to, get his frustrations out. But before anything can happen, the cops show up and break up the fight. And they're like, oh, yes, they told us at the hotel that you're out here by yourself. We don't want anything to happen to you, Lord Cerebus. And he's like, ah. And, that's it for, part one. And here we've got a reprint of the original letters page. All right. Okay, here we go again. And now, here in the reprint issues, Dave Sims was doing a pretty interesting thing. He was giving one page to various indie creators and small press publishers or whatever. So you've got one page to do your thing and show your stuff off. So there's one person. Here's another different person here. Here's another guy right there. Here we get some ads for some of the Cerebus trades. This one reprinting issue 1 through 25. And these issues, were mostly mostly kind of like parody issues and satire. Well, the whole thing's a satire, but the earlier issues were clear parodies of Conan and Eldrick and superheroes, and he's aping the art styles of guys like Frank Thorne and Barry Smith and Neil Adams and stuff like that. So there was really kind of one and 2 part stories and stuff like that. Really lightweight stuff. It's when we get to High Society, so that starts with this issue, and then onward, the storytelling and the messages in the comics got a lot more ambitious. Okay, now this is interesting here because we have an ad for the reprints for 1 through 25, right? And then we have 2 ads for Church and State, but they're for the same volume, I believe. This is reprinting 52 to 80. And then this one is 52 to 80. And they leave out High Society, which is 25 to 51, I believe. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. And okay, and that's it. Like I said, this is right when Dave Sims starts to get more ambitious with the content of the stories. They're not just kind of hardy har har chuckle stuff. He's trying to say things about, society and things like that. Yeah, I guess that's what I want to say. Society, civilization, and whatnot. As the comic went on, it went on to a whole 300 issues. Clearly, he would be taking on things like gender and religion and male-female relationships, and the comic got really controversial at one point, especially when it comes to Dave Sims and his dealings with women and stuff like that. But anyway, yeah, really interesting issue. You can see the art is very detailed. Really good use of black and whites. Really good use of hash tones and mid tones and stuff like that. Really pretty at this point. He was getting pretty sophisticated with, just with layouts and panel arrangements and design and things like that. And as the comic went on, he got a little bit more ambitious and whatnot. So, all right, so then that's it. I gotta thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. You guys all have a great day.